Hi, welcome to Quietly Marketing, and today's episode is called Market Like a Biscuit Enthusiast. Just like last week, this episode was inspired by one of my favorite podcasts called No Such Thing as a Fish, a trivia podcast, so to speak, of obscure facts. And one of the articles about Biscuit Enthusiasts actually kind of inspired this episode. So, Biscuit Enthusiasts. Now, when I talk about biscuits, I am talking about the European and more specific, the British tend to the word biscuit, which you'd think of more as cookies. Really big business in England. Having biscuits with your tea is not a stereotype at all in England. Being English myself, living in England for as long as I did, I can tell you that people do love their biscuits there, and you do always have biscuits with teas. So when you hear me say the word biscuits, think of cookies that you would have with tea. So, in the UK, there is actually something called the Biscuit Enthusiast Club. Now, this club sounds like something you'd imagine that would not have very many members or much of a following. And you would be incorrect, just like I would be incorrect when I first heard this. It in fact has 17 million members of this around the world, of this Biscuit Enthusiast Club. All right, that's a lot of people really loving their biscuits. And this goes beyond just the number of people involved in this club. This biscuit culture, as I'm calling it, actually has a lot of following and a lot of different mediums in which you can express your love for biscuits, I guess. If you look at this website here, which is Nice Cup of Tea and a Sit Down. I did some research on this website using some website tools, so I thought I was 100% accurate, but I can say roughly that this site gets between 14 and 17,000 hits every single month, and about half of those are new visits. So on top of the Biscuit Enthusiast Club, people are also going to this website. So you're probably wondering what's on this website, all right? It's everything from biscuit news, such as the latest biscuits that PG Tips, which is a type of tea, has recommended. Breaking biscuit news, which I'm sorry, I don't know what the breaking news is. Breakthroughs in biscuits, in this case, what to spread on your biscuits. That's a new breakthrough apparently. And the Biscuit of the Week, which is, as of this podcast, which is August 26th, the Biscuit of the Week is a club biscuit. I have had that biscuit before and it is really delicious. I'm more of a chocolate digestives man myself, but still really, really good. Now, on top of the number of hits that it gets, this site also has 2,500 different websites linking to it, suggesting that this really is the biscuit authority, if you will. Now, if you look closer on it, the people who have this website, Nice Cup of Tea and a Sit Down, have also released a book, which I'm guessing is probably the #1 biscuit information book on Amazon. And if you look at the reviews, it's got an average of 4.6 stars out of 5. So people who read this, who are biscuit enthusiasts themselves, are clearly enamored with the content enough. Now, it might sound a little bit like I'm making fun of this. I'm not. I'm trying to get a point across that for a lot of topics that you would imagine don't have a lot of traffic, there's a lot of topics that have a very unique following, and people who want very specific information about very specific things. Now, if you compare the traffic numbers to a site like Amazon, to Google, when you're talking about millions and millions and millions of visitors and users, of course not. But what we're talking about is finding people who are very passionate about a certain niche. And that's what the Biscuit Enthusiast Club, that's what this website has tapped into. And this goes beyond just products. Let's think about social media right now. A lot of my blogs and everything I've been writing about a lot have been on social media, because there's been a lot of news in it right now. So you'd imagine if you take something like home decorating, okay? Obviously Pinterest is one of the most popular mediums people use for decorating ideas, sharing ideas, and things like that. But there's actually a website, and if you're into home decorating, you definitely know about this, but if not, like I didn't know about it till very recently, there's a website called House, which is more of an upscale designer social media platform. Acts very much like Pinterest and has much more following, and there's actually a lot more engagement and a lot more revenue tied to products who go on House, because it's much more designed for this particular niche who use this. So overall users, absolutely not. It doesn't even come close to Pinterest. But for enthusiastic people who are very dedicated to this, it's very popular. Now, one of my favorite things I learned was 2 years ago at Content Marketing World. I heard an awesome stat. Now, this was 2 years ago, so traffic has gone down slightly. But they brought up the question of how many visitors do you think MySpace gets on a monthly basis? And at the time, a couple years ago, they was estimating it gets 42 million visits a month. And at the time, Twitter was getting 49 million. So you think of something as irrelevant as MySpace actually isn't. What had happened is that it just changed its focus to music. So if you were interested in music, if you had a band, you had a MySpace page. That's where you went. That's where your niche lived. That's where you had to go. So whether you're thinking about generating ideas or if you're talking about generating a forum, I would always recommend trying to get as specific to your target audience as possible and not branching out until you're ready or if it makes sense. But try and narrow down the target audience to as specific as possible. Can you get as specific as Biscuit Enthusiasts? Because although your market might be a lot less, you can write such relevant content and become the authority on that one particular topic. So in House's case, become the authority on high-end home decorating. That's what's important. Okay, so I'm gonna use one other very popular content marketing example just to kind of drive this point home. There's a man out there called the Chicken Whisperer, and his expertise was in backyard farms, creating backyard chicken coops and how to take care of chickens in your backyard. This wasn't for farmers. This is for people who live in suburbia, if you will, who want to raise chickens in their backyard. Again, you would think if you just heard this topic, you would guess there can't be that many people who want to do this. His YouTube channel was getting hundreds of thousands of views every single month. He's launched a podcast that gets downloaded 30,000 times on average. Each podcast gets downloaded 30,000 times. That's ridiculous. He's written books now. He's got endorsements with products. All because he's picked something so specific as people who want to raise chickens in their backyard but who are not farmers. So try and ask yourself, whenever you're setting up a blog, whenever you're setting up a business, start with something very specific. Okay, and I'm going to use an example of a really big company that started out like this and only became successful because they picked a niche and they went with it and grew from there. And that would be Amazon. Amazon started with books. Specifically just books. That's the niche that they thought they could do, is getting online books, okay? And Barnes & Noble and Borders had also started an online store, but they decided to go specifically with selling online books. And only once they were successful with that did they move into the world of CDs, then move into the world of, DVDs, and then expanding from there to the point where today they just announced that they're going to be having doing research on cars, okay, Amazon vehicles, which I'm sure will turn into buying cars on Amazon. But now they're at the point where they can just expand to any market they want because they have the audience. But you always have to start out with something very specific that you think you can own, become the authority on that topic. Okay, so that's why I want you to market like a biscuit enthusiast. Find something very specific, very unique that doesn't have a lot of content out there and focus on that. That's the way that you're going to be able to create an audience, create a following, and in return create a very successful business that can grow from your success of pick a niche and get rich. All right. So thank you for listening today, and I will talk to you again next week.